On July 24th, there is a new moon in Leo, but if you're watching this after the new moon has arrived, that is okay, because we are going beyond just the new moon today. And for those of you who have not seen my most recent video, I did talk heavily about the new moon in Leo, as well as the very beginning energies and themes involving the Mercury retrograde that we're experiencing right now. We are in the thick of this Mercury retrograde that will last until August 11th. But this new moon, my friends, whether you're watching this the day before, I'm not sure when I'm releasing this. I'm recording this on the 22nd of July. So whether you're watching this before the new moon profects or after, the things I want to talk about today are important, in my opinion, that stretch beyond just like this moment that we're having where we can seed something, where we can place intentions, because we all know that's really what new moons are all about. We are discussing the very beginning of a lunar cycle. Okay, we're beginning a lunar cycle in the way that we're going to start a new moon now, and we're going to have a full moon in Aquarius starting, within the next couple of weeks. But also the bigger theme of new moon in Leo to full moon in Leo for next year, for the winter, of course. We have a full moon in Leo every winter. And then if you really want to get wild, my friends, what comes next summer is actually massive, involving when the nodes change signs, when the South Node gets into Leo, and when Jupiter gets into Leo, and how those transits are going to be activating the same outer planets that are being activated now by this new moon. Now, there's going to be a lot more conversation down the road on that specifically, and today I don't want to ramble on forever in regards to that, because there's so much meditating, to be honest, I have to do. There's so much like sitting in meditation, literally, and like kind of speaking with the planets. I mean, if you want to get woo, that's kind of where some like deep meditative astrological magic, if you will, kind of comes into play. And if any of you guys are interested in learning about some of that stuff, a lot of the courses I'll be teaching next year will be talking heavily in some areas of those courses about astrological magic and how we can work with the planets consciously. But again, my friends, there's a lot of what's going on next summer and next August, especially when the nodes change signs, especially when Jupiter gets into Leo, that will very much reflect some of the things that we're starting now. So I really want you to really take a look at your life right now and examine what is happening. And I know that is a massive question to ask you, because we all have 1,000 things happening all at once. And we can also blame Uranus and Gemini for maybe stirring this pot up a little bit more aggressively, since it ingressed at the beginning of this month. And we're in the middle of another massive retrograde. And we're in the middle of a Saturn and Neptune retrograde. So, and Pluto is retrograde. Let's just throw that in there as well. So we really are in the beginning stages of a whole new life, a whole new existence for ourselves. And I can tell you from personal experience, my life is moving 1,000 miles an hour, and I'm also doing my best to navigate, shift, and pivot and change things constantly, involving who I am as a man, who I am as an astrologer. And again, as many of you know, I'm starting to design a lot of mini courses and like a big masterclass. A lot of teaching is coming in 2026 for me. And that's something I've always been very passionate on embarking on, is really becoming I am a teacher. I've taught before, of course, but like in a very public way, where there's like a whole online portal type of deal. So in my world, there is so much that I am reflecting on. I am working out. I am figuring out. I am having my own little awakenings. I am having my own little ego deaths and my imposter syndrome moments. And this Leo moment, and I'm a Leo sun, and I have tons of planets in Leo. So if you have tons of placements in Leo, I mean, you guys, wherever that whole sign house quadrant is in your birth chart, I mean, this is the theme of life that is going to be the next massive story for you. Now, I don't know how long I'm going to make this video today, guys. And I think some of my videos are getting a little shorter. I mean, and by shorter, I mean like 20 or so minutes, but if I occasionally make a video that's a little bit shorter, like, I hope that's okay, because sometimes I know many of you are used to my opuses here, my 30 plus minutes. And I'm sure my August forecast, which will probably be the next video, will be a pretty long one. But I don't know. I'm just thinking right now in my head, I don't really know how much I have to say on what I've already covered in the prior new moon in Leo video from last week. But there is some stuff I want to talk about. And I do want to talk about the Five of Wands tarot card, because that is the decan that this new moon is falling in. And I want to sort of put that tarot card into context in relation to what we're seeing going on involving the planets, what we're seeing going on in the world, maybe a little bit, but also just the energy of the moment really is kind of like conflict, you know, and conflict in a way that's not totally bad. Conflict in a way where we're trying to fight our way to the top. We're trying to fight our way through whatever we're dealing with in life. We are all, I feel, at this edge of fighting for something, fighting for who we are, fighting for our voice and our authentic self. I think we're living in a world where if you can't be authentic, you are going to drown. You are not going to make it. We have to stand up for who we are and what we believe in. And that also plays into the rhythm and rhyme of Neptune in Aries. Okay, Neptune is belief, right? And not Jupiter kind of belief, but a belief in another sense, right? Believing in our visions. And Saturn wants to build something and make something solid and strong and something that can stand the test of time. So, you know, this belief that we need to have in our voice and this image of ourself for the future and what is going on in the Leo part of your life, the Aquarius part of your life, because again, this new moon and a lot of the transits coming for Leo will be going opposite Pluto for a long time. Pluto's not moving anywhere, guys. It's going to take many years for it to even get to 6 degrees. I mean, think about that. And Uranus will only get to so many degrees by next summer, and Neptune will only get to so many degrees by next summer, and then Saturn will get into the middle of Aries by next summer. And this is kind of like why this new moon is so important. This is even why this Mercury retrograde is so important, because that Leo part of our life has gone through a lot over the last year. This is the second Mercury retrograde in Leo we've had in a year. Last one was last August. We had this Mars retrograde moment and a massive Mars direct transit this entire spring. Now we're having another Mercury retrograde, and now we're having this new moon trigger all of the outer planets. And all these outer planets, aside from Uranus, are retrograde. So we are doing a lot of inner work, a lot of inner shadow work. A lot of things are going on within ourselves. And that is really important to note and to consider when we discuss what we're going to be seeding right now with this new moon, and also what we can observe in our reality post this new moon. And even if you want to track what's going on in the Aquarius part of your life most dominantly right now, like, that's some immediate homework for you guys. What is going on in Aquarius right now? Please let me know. And just let me know what's going on generally. Like, have you already, if you're watching this after the new moon or right before it, like, what are you putting intentions into? What do you sense about the Leo part of your life, or just your life in general, that you feel you need to step into more authenticity? Right? What do you need to identify within yourself as a self that needs to be standing a little stronger in what you believe in? What conflicts do you need to navigate right now? You know, because getting serious about what we're all about is very, very important. But this Aquarius part of your life, where the full moon in Aquarius is coming next month, that is something we can maybe start to meditate into now. So do a little meditating into the full moon from now, because this lunar cycle phase from new moon to full moon, the upcoming full moon, obviously, not the next full moon in Leo, this is something we can start to tap into, because this new moon is so strongly going opposite Pluto right now. And that's something I feel I'm going to be doing in the next couple of days. I'm going to be meditating very deeply into the Aquarius part of my life, which is very rapidly changing and transforming my life in a very serious way. And I could probably get a little emotional talking about it if I really wanted to, guys, but I'll save my tears for another day. Not that anything crazy is happening, But again, when you change in such a fundamental way, Pluto wants to really rip your heart out, rip the foundation of who you are in some ways, and it wants to provide you that rebirth. It's that judgment card, even though Aquarius has nothing to do with the judgment card. But Pluto may be a good card for the the judgment card might be a good card to pull for a Pluto energy, to be honest. So, meditate into what that full moon moment could reveal to you next month, okay? Because this new moon is sparking something new that is going to not challenge that, but it's going to be holding up a mirror, perhaps, in something. Now, I want to talk about the Decan, right? I want to talk about the first Decan of Leo. It's ruled by Saturn and the Five of Wands in the tarot. And I also want to kind of link this together to some more of the outer planet energies as we move through, honestly, the rest of the year and into next summer. But again, I'm not going to go hard on talking about details about next summer, my friends. But I will do my best to navigate some commentary from this point forward. But to be honest, I want to talk about the Decan and the tarot. And I know you guys like when I talk about the Decans and the tarot, because that's kind of like what a lot of you guys, I don't want to say know me for, but it's a really big part of my work. The tarot, of course, and the symbolism of tarot is a part of my work. I have new offerings now on my website where you could book a reading with me, where I incorporate tarot into the astrology reading. So that is something I'm really passionate about sharing with you, and I want to really dive deeper into that today. But before I continue, I hope if you're enjoying this and you can consider subscribing if you're new, and and I just really hope that everything I provide here can give you insight into your own life and into your own experience, and allow you to maybe see the world a little bit clearer. And I always hope to provide some guidance or assurance that this evolutionary process we evolve through in this life kind of has a purpose and a meaning, even though some things we go through can be hard. And I just want to let you all know that astrology really helps us. It really can show us our future and can really navigate us and bring us that comfort and ease. And that's really something I strive to do in all of my readings, by the way, as well. So yeah, my friends, but let's continue on talking about the Decan that this new moon is falling in. But again, let's talk about this new moon and obviously a lot of other things in a broader context here. All right, my friends, now let's get into some Decan work, as I like to say. Now, the first Decan of Leo is ruled by Saturn, which brings a seriousness to any planet that finds itself there. Saturn is a planet of commitment. Saturn is a planet of restriction. It is a planet of discipline. It is not a planet that likes to have fun and bring harmony like Venus, no matter how much we would like that to be the case. But this is where that new moon is falling. This is where Mercury retrograde will go back to until it goes direct on August 11th. And then Mercury retrograde, the Mercury direct motion, when it goes direct on August 11th, will find itself in that first Decan for a couple of days before it gets into the second Decan. So the point that I'm trying to make is that there's a seriousness to the moment that we are in, that we are seeding, that the world is finding itself in right now. It is no surprise that when we look at the world and what's going on in the world, how serious things are and how serious things can be and how serious things can change in a moment's notice. Now, the Five of Wands is really a card of conflict, of course. All of the fives in the minor arcana are about imbalance. They are struggle, they are conflict, and we have to work through that. We have to work through that lack mindset with like the Five of Pentacles. We have to kind of work through emotional kind of imbalance with the Five of Cups. We have to, with the Five of Wands, work through a lot of conflict, possibly involving individuality and in forging kind of like a new way to do something, right? Wands and fire is about doing and passion. And then across from the Five of Wands, where Pluto is, across from that first Decan of Leo is the first Decan of Aquarius, ruled by Venus. But that Venusian energy is a little bit colder, if you ask me, and that's a conversation for another day, talking about that Venus Decan. But the Five of Swords rules that first Decan of Aquarius. So again, when we look at the Five of Swords, we are definitely talking about furthering conflict in some way, shape, or form. This might be more mental in nature. This might be more intellectual in nature, where we're talking about conflicts of ideas. So again, we have actions and assertiveness and a lot of action-oriented, like fuckery on the world stage, if you will, or maybe even our own life. Just again, like we're constantly trying to take actions and we're not knowing what to do. How do we do this? How do we do that? How do I act here? How do I really speak? How do I really assert myself, Leo? And that power dynamic is massive. And that is a huge word, or a couple of words to use when we talk about this moment, power dynamics. The new moon going opposite Pluto is birthing a new realm of power dynamics and powerful figures or structures really kind of coming to a pinnacle point where we can see a lot of really hardcore things begin to manifest from this point forward. There's even a lot of prediction in some circles of astrology that, kind of predict that our current leader in America might actually suffer a pretty cataclysmic health crisis. Now, that's something involving astrology I'm not ruling out, so I'm not sure how anybody wants to take that. But I mean, we are already seeing breadcrumbs of the decline of someone's health, and I don't think that's really news to anyone, to be quite honest. But I mean, I just think like when we talk about the transformative power dynamic shifts that are going to go on in this world, and that includes the furthering of wars and stuff like that, all these cards play into that. Okay, these conflict cards, this seeding of this new moon going opposite the full moon, going opposite Pluto, and of course, aspecting all of the outer planets, guys, Uranus and Gemini by sextile, and the trines to the early degrees of Aries. And this is what's shaping the world order right now. This is what's shaping everything right now. The future, tech, everything that we're experiencing on the world stage, it is all kind of beginning with these very conflicting energies here. And I think when we deal with how we're going to navigate through this, we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And Saturn wants to get really serious in that first decan of Leo and provide us the unique opportunity to assert ourselves amidst the conflict so we can pave our own way as we navigate such rapid change. And every client I talk to is going through kind of an awakening in themselves, and not all awakenings are spiritual. They are like, I just lost my job. What the fuck am I going to do? They are, what do I believe in now? Like, who do I want to be? Do I really love my husband or my wife anymore? Like, what's going on? Like, do I really need to live more authentically in some way, shape, or form? Or, again, I'm just kind of giving some rough examples here, but we're really being asked to step into a massive sense of self in the most authentic ways possible. And this Five of Wands, again, is kind of like, it allows us to reflect on the efforts it might take to stand out. Because again, we're still dealing with Leo here, okay? We're still dealing with expression and leadership and creativity and, acting from the heart space, like really understanding what our heart desires and wants, and how can we do to work through whatever challenges there are in our life currently. In that Leo part of your life, please share with me what's going on in Leo for you and what whole sign house is that for you. Because again, I think understanding the power of conflict can really allow us to heal as well, and that's something a lot of people maybe don't talk about, that friction and conflict, oppositions and squares are absolutely essential to be a human being. So we need this stuff. And to be honest, in my life, guys, I know a lot of you freak out over squares and oppositions, but most squares and oppositions give me that like push and that motivation. And yes, even sometimes those depressive moments where I have to work through something. And that always brings me to an enlightenment or to a new perspective or to something new, a new green pasture of understanding. And I think that is really part of the spiritual path, honestly. Spirituality is not supposed to be easy, by the way, okay? It's not supposed to be all love and light. True spirituality is going through conflict, going to hell and back, okay? It's about working through trauma so you can learn, like, how to, become more calm within the chaos. Because I think we're not going to escape the chaos on planet Earth, my friends. And that is something we all have to get really clear about, and how to meditate deeply within. And if any of you do believe there is some utopia down the line, then how do you think that utopia comes? Okay, it comes from doing a lot of shadow work. and not just stumbling upon spiritual concepts and just thinking that you can snap your fingers and get there. That's not how it works. That's not how the fives work in the tarot. The fives are all about, oh my God, this is very imbalanced. This is very conflict oriented. And the Five of Wands here, again, there is a passion to it. There is an ambition to it. There is even a creativity to it, but there is a tension, competition, and struggle to get there. And that is why I think it is so connected to the Leo energy, because Leo energy wants to, again, be passionate about what they do, what they say, what they're all about. And navigating through conflict is kind of the story, for most of us. So, some further symbolism for the Five of Wands is conflict or competition, but it's not always hostile. So again, we have to remember it's not always hostile. And disorder or lack of coordination. So again, I do feel this moment is kind of chaotic for ourselves in our own life and just what's going on in the world. So really, again, really look in your life and see where is there lack of coordination or lack of order, and how can that shape something that involves your sense of self, something that involves the platonic moment happening in Aquarius for you, where again, that Aquarius part of our life is very radical in nature for how we approach life there, generally speaking. We're probably very unique and a little bit innovative there and like to do things a little bit against the grain. And Pluto right now, and all of that whole sign house in your birth chart, Pluto right now is bringing you into a place of awakening and definitely unearthing a lot of stuff for you to have a regeneration and rebirth there, because Pluto is the shaman and will take you into the underworld and will make you look at deep, dark stuff, and then will provide the opportunities for that rebirth. So again, this Five of Wands going opposite that, and just, again, the conflict generally in the sky going on just all over the place, and the fast movement of so much stuff going on in the sky, we have to look to see where the disorder is, and we have to look to see where the lack of coordination is, and the retrogrades that are happening right now as well. This is really making all of this, I think, a little bit stronger on the world stage and in our own life, of course. But this moment with the Five of Wands and where this new moon is birthing, this is kind of a massive meditative moment to plant those seeds and intentions for what we can start resolving in our own life. And again, with Mercury retrograde as well happening here, we have a massive opportunity to examine where are we not being authentic in our speech, in our vocabulary, in our thoughts. Where are we not truly embodying who we are meant to be right now? And some of us, that may be very foggy still, and that we can look to Neptune for, we can look to the retrogrades all over the place for, of course. But I think we need to reflect on where are we being productive or destructive? Examine that. Is the tension you're facing external or internal? Could competition be pushing you to improve, or is it wearing you down? So this is where we need to take a chill pill, okay? With the Five of Wands. Anytime the Five of Wands is kind of drawn, depending on the situation, usually it can be like, hey, just take a step back from whatever's happening right now. Just take a step back, observe this situation, observe yourself from a bird's eye view, observe the world from a bird's eye view. Yes, maybe get a little freaked out if you get worried about stuff going on in the world, but also recognize that there's a cycle unfolding, and that when Mercury goes direct, of course, and then August and September unfolds, things will maybe get easier in the Leo part of your life. Things might get a little bit more clear. The seeds that are planted might become a little bit more, tolerable or more in understanding. And again, where all this energy will be manifesting once again next summer, okay? Because again, like I keep telling you in this video, or like I told you earlier, and then the video I did last time, when the nodes change signs and when Jupiter gets into Leo, those are all going to start aspecting the outer planets, Okay, the new moon right now is aspecting the outer planets. We have all this conflict energy. We have all this, passion and assertiveness and, dormant creativity potentially trying to make its way to the surface. We have this Mercury retrograde really digging deep into ourself and trying to find our authentic self in a way. And how this will all culminate by next summer is huge. So doing this work now, investigating the Leo part of your life, understanding how this is affecting the Aries part of your life and the Gemini part of your life, because that's how this new moon and even the Mercury retrograde is aspecting those transits. And then Aquarius, all of this will reveal itself in a more dominant way next summer. And when the nodes change signs, that is when we start having those massive eclipses in Leo. Okay, starting for a year or so once the next summer arrives, almost until 2028, to be honest. And this is where we really have these big endings, big beginnings with eclipses. And then, of course, Jupiter transits Leo and opens up a whole new can of worms in growth, opportunity, wisdom, truth, and healing. All the beautiful things Jupiter possibly can provide us that will be in the Leo part of your life. So just think about all the shit we've been through in Leo. All this retrograde activity from last summer, now the Mars retrograde, the Mars direct. We have now this new moon that is triggering all the outer planets, planting these massive seeds. We're being asked to be called into navigating conflict and finding our true self and voice. And then by next year, something massive and beautiful could be birthed from all of this. On the world, we could come out of a completely different hellscape by then, okay? Imagine living in a world where all the wars calm down by next summer. Imagine living in a world where the fuckery going on in certain political circles calms down and changes radically. Imagine if there could be peace and calm to the best of the ability that could be a thing, because obviously we're in a really tense moment right now. But the tensest of moments in astrology right now, guys, with all these outer planet shifts, are now through August 2026. And I would argue maybe a little bit further than that, but if we can just get through the next 12 months or so, we are going to come out the other side, I promise you. And looking at the Leo part of our lives is going to be a massive part of this story. And I just can't wait to navigate all of this with you, my friends. And I hope I can be a voice of reason and a teacher for you. And I do hope that this video provided some insight as well, because, the first decan in this tarot card associated with the first decan of Leo with Saturn really does show us the seriousness of the power dynamics and conflicts that we're going through. And the struggle for dominance, that's also something that's going on within ourselves and also around the world. And I would encourage all of you to find something in your life you can start for yourself. I think there's an entrepreneur in all of us. Okay. And that's something the Leo archetype, I think, is really good at. Becoming an entrepreneur. What can you do to create something for yourself? Because we live in a golden age of technology, okay, where we can all share our truth, maybe online or in a blog or something, and use social media and stuff like that in a healthy way. And we can all maybe even make a second income from social media. It is possible. And wouldn't that be wonderful to make some extra cash, or to leave your job or a life that you don't like anymore and really express yourself in an authentic self? This really could be a golden era for a creative revolution, if you will. And I'm pretty sure there's transits in play right now that were in effect during the 60s into the 70s. So look what happened then, my friends. We had a massive creative evolution, spiritual revolution, and sexual revolution, and a musical evolution, and a creative evolution. So, imagine living in a world where things got better. That's my final message to you. And I hope that some of the courses I release next year will also help you guys. I have a lot in the works, including a really powerful astrology program for anyone who is very interested in learning the deepest esoteric ways of astrology, going over some history, but also really diving into the technique and diving into the metaphysics, and also the most advanced ways to evolve your astrological interpretation. So That course will be probably for people who are really interested in learning more about the heart of astrology, as well as maybe becoming professional astrologers yourself. And then I'll have other things that are going to involve tarot symbolism and talking about the Decans and a lot of other mini courses that will be coming. So I do hope that me as a Leo sun, this is providing me a lot of beginnings as someone who can come to you as a kind of, a guide or a teacher that can help you in all dimensions of life and all dimensions of astrology and spirituality. All right, my friends, well, that's all I have for you today. I hope this video found you well, and I will see you in the next one.